Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the People's Empowerment Podcast, a podcast by Empower the People, and we are here to empower the people. And today I'm joined by Zelaine, who's actually a member, and we first got chatting in one of our Wellness Wednesday sessions, which is our weekly members meeting revamped and given a spin for everything health and wellness. And we have our breakout rooms where we're getting into things like meditation or Hoponopono or just nutrition and diet and all these really great things that are to keep us in a good state of mind, so then we can go focus on everything else that we need to be getting on with. And Elaine came into my room that I was hosting, and she was a part of a really great discussion that was taking place. And when I was speaking to her and just hearing about what she's been through, what she's doing and what she's done, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. I'd like to hear a bit more about all of this stuff we're speaking about. So hi Elaine.
Hi, Travis. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Yeah. So do you want to give a bit of an introduction to everybody, just who you are and how you've got to where you are now?
So I'm a complementary therapist, and I practice holistic therapies. So it started with my son, who's autistic, and my dad telling me that he was autistic and that there were ways that we could help him. Which started with live blood analysis. And then from there, understanding his healing process through taking live blood analysis and reducing his autistic tendencies. When I practiced complementary therapies, alongside that, I studied Sūkṣhma Marma therapy, which is an ancient Ayurvedic technique for treating the body and releasing blocked energies. It's kind of like Chinese medicine, but with the Ayurvedic techniques, it's such an old, ancient tradition that it was only ever passed down within the families of these therapists. And I was fortunate enough to have come across this while studying.
Okay, cool. There's a couple of things there. So you mentioned something about treating your autistic son. What was it? Life blood. What exactly?
Oh, live blood analysis.
Yeah.
It's a form of it's live blood microscopy. It's where I take a sample of blood and from the finger and look at a drop of blood on a slide underneath a microscope. And I'm able to use it as a nutritional device, so I can see the different anomalies or the shapes that the blood cells form in order to understand the type of condition the blood terrain is in. And then with nutritional therapy and some guidance, help someone rebalance their internal system so that they're able to function better. So when we take a live blood sample, we look at it through a microscope about 100 times to see the shapes of each blood cell. So we can see red blood cells and white blood cells. Sometimes we even come across parasites and other anomalies like spicules, and also fermentation of the blood. We'll see that, and we'll see as well the plasma and how healthy that is and how it's formed.
And so you did this analysis for your son, and then you did what, nutritional therapy to help treat his autism. Did you have success with what you was doing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So with the training that I had from Florida and then again in London, I was able to change his diet completely. And for a child with autism, he ate a lot of things that he liked and stuck with it. So things like fish fingers and ketchup were his staple diet, and I couldn't get him off of that either way. He would have it or not eat. And when I discovered that his blood came up showing that his body cannot tolerate or cannot absorb the nutrients from things like things like processed sugars and wheat, things with that were bleached as well, like the flours that were bleached. So he couldn't have gluten, he couldn't have sugars or processed foods. Taking that out of a diet of an autistic child was the hardest thing for me, because it was the only thing he ever ate, and it was the only thing that he would like pick up when we went shopping. So having him to change his diet, it took at least about a week for him to give in and start eating like gluten-free pasta. I had to start changing his gluten to gluten-free pasta and replace ketchup with fats like butter. After about a month and a half, his tendencies of banging his head and his meltdowns were considerably reduced. He began to be more open to the foods that he was being fed. He actually started eating more greens, and he'd be more relaxed in the evening. So he never slept as a child. And I remember not being able to sleep for 11 years because of his autism. Wow. And having to get up in the middle of the night because he would be going in the kitchen and raiding the fridge, or he'd have accidents in bed and having to change his clothes and his bed sheets, or just being up watching television and not being able to switch off. And from changing his diet, that really helped reduce the symptoms of his autism. So he stopped head banging, he'd have less meltdowns, and also just became a lot more calmer at night and was able to actually have more than 4 hours sleep.
That's incredible. What an amazing story, and big ups to you for sort of going through all of that and figuring out a way to treat it. That's amazing. So what else was you talking about here? Yeah, so the Shamana itself, I just think that sounds really cool to begin with, but then what actually is it? Is it related to what you were talking about prior to, like the diet sort of side of things, the nutrition, or is it some form of practice, or what is it?
So Sūkṣhma is completely the other side of live blood analysis. So Sūkṣhma is what a lot of people from a scientific background would call the woo-woo stuff. And I love woo-woo and I love science, and I like the two together. And I love the fact that they both complement each other in that way. And so Sūkṣhma, it's spelled Sukshma, Marma, Marma, Sūkṣhma. It's an ancient Ayurvedic way of treating the body and releasing blocked energy. It works on what we call Marma points, or vital points. And it's the same way that Chinese medicine look at acupuncture in terms of meridians. So we have these Marma points all over our body, and the Marma point is like a gateway to another Marma point, and in between flows the energy. And one of the most powerful Marma points we have are in the palms of our hand. So when we greet someone and we shake their hand, we're exchanging energy from ourselves to the other and from that person to ourselves. And you can tell whether or not you like a person as well from the way they shake your hand or the way you shake theirs. It's like you get a feeling of that person through shaking their hand. And now with the marmas, the energy channels that flow in between, they're called nadis. And the nadis carry healing energy throughout the body. So if a marma point is blocked, the energy can't flow. So what we do in Marma therapy is to remove the blockage so that the energy flows and the body is then rebalanced. A really good way of explaining or seeing if you've ever had acupuncture done before. It's where if they put the needles, Chinese medicine, they put the needles in these acupuncture points. But with aromatherapy, we never have to break the skin. Everything is on the surface and requires very light touch. And even the points of the fingers. So in Ayurvedic medicine, the fingers hold so much power. So you have in cultures where they don't point at people, so they don't point their finger at things, because the pointy finger is fire, it's very powerful. And I remember being told by the doctor who taught me, Dr. Ernst Schrott, a medical doctor who studied Ayurvedic medicine with a family, because it's only ever passed down within families. And he was close with this particular family in India, and he asked and managed to get them to teach it to him so that he can share it with the world. And the reason why they hadn't shared it with the world was because their practice was it was used for evil. So before, centuries ago, when they were practicing, they were happy to share the knowledge with Westerners. But along the way, if you knew how to kill a person with the movement of your hand, then it was not what they were about. They were about healing people and making the world balanced. So they then cut off their teaching and stopped teaching outsiders. So luckily he was able to gain the knowledge. They said that they were happy to start teaching him, but they teach now without teaching you the deadly forms of Ayurvedic Marma therapies. So it's almost like a Bruce Lee movie. Yeah. So it's very powerful. So every finger has a specific point. The palm of the hand, that's the healing Marma, which is why like in Christian stories from the Bible, when Jesus put his hand on the people, it would be the palm that he would always use. When they crucified him, they put him up and they put the nail through each of his palms. They took his power away. You know. So the palm is very, very powerful, Marma.
Really fascinating. I'm loving hearing about this. And so what I'm sort of putting together is it like a massage, or is it sort of you're doing energy work just above the body, or how does it play out?
So with the Marma therapy, we use it in a form of a massage technique, because we're encouraging, we're opening up the Marma points, and we're encouraging the flow of energy to pass through the Marmas. And the same way that you open a door, you also have to close it. So there are opening techniques for Marma and then closing techniques. And what I love about Sūkṣhma Marma therapy is that you practice on yourself just as much as you have to practice on other people, because you are treating someone who's ill, and you have to be strong enough to be able to treat that person. And then when you finish giving them that massage treatment, depending on, it could be someone who suffers with migraines, people who suffer with joint issues, even people with cancer, you can treat with Marma therapy. And I've experienced that, you know, firsthand when I've worked on cancer patients, how incredible the power of Marma therapy can shrink a cancer tumor, you know. So it's a beautiful, gentle technique and non-invasive, and it's open for everyone. Everyone can receive it.
It's incredible. And I guess for me, and probably quite a few people watching this, that they sort of understand the energy system of the body, but there might be some people who, you know, this might be new information for them the first time they're hearing it, or they've heard it before and they don't quite get it. But it makes sense to me that there are these energy points in the body, and the energy kind of flows, and you know, and how like Western medicine has basically thrown out anything that we can't see in terms of treating the body, which is to huge detriment to the people. And and I guess, like, what would you say would potentially cause a blockage of the energy flowing in the body?
In my experience with blockages, it's low energy, and also it's trauma or stress which causes blockages. And the way that I've understood it from treating so many people is that when your body is under so much stress, it still needs to find the energy to help your body function at the as optimal as possible. So a very simple example is, okay, say I cut my finger. Now the body has this natural ability to heal itself, and it will always continue to do that, whatever we throw at it. So I cut my finger, and you know, my body is like, oh, there's something wrong here. We need to fix it. So it will release, you know, endorphins to help me cope with the pain. It will go through a whole list of to-dos in order to get my finger back to what it was before I cut it. And that takes a lot of energy and requires every cell in my body to be working alongside each other. So as a healthy person, I've cut my finger, my body starts going into healing mode, and you know, it will help fix the cut. if I were someone who was anemic, then it would be different for that cut to heal. It would heal a different way because you have low blood iron. Your body's already trying to help it function by processing other things like the heart, the organs in your body, keeping that afloat, and then it's got to think about other things. So it takes all these steps to get to where it needs to go. And if a function stops working the way that it should, then it pulls in all its resources from other organs that are priorities. Well, it starts from the lowest priority of our body to the highest. And then once it uses up all the resources in the, the lower priority, it starts eating away at the higher priority. So in terms of blockages, it starts with stress, and we don't see that until years later in the way that it affects us in the body. Someone could be really healthy, and then suddenly, over years of stress, and we call that chronic. After years of stress, then suddenly, they can't eat bread, or they can't drink orange juice without it giving them reflux, or they can't walk as far as they used to. So certain things will start creeping up to show them that, something's wrong. But you'd have to be quite chronic to get to that point before your body tells you, because it's really good at keeping you, keeping you fit and strong and healthy.
So you also said about how you have, treated people with cancer with this, and that is absolutely incredible. And you're not the first person that I've at least come across who has said that they've been doing a energy healing treatment that has actually been able to treat cancer. And it's really amazing to just even be able to say that. So I'm really curious about everything that you're doing, Zelaine. But it's really cool to hear. So I'm wondering, like, how did you? Sorry, how long have you been doing this practice for?
So I've been doing Marma therapy for about several years now. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've started.
Go
No,
on.
sorry. Yeah, no. So I started doing my complementary therapies, and then brought that in to learn more about normotherapy, because I'm fascinated about healing the body, especially when it's under so much stress, and things pop up like cancer.
And so the people that you've treated, has it been like, because I think it's becoming a bit more common knowledge now that it's generally your lifestyle that end up causes cancer, right? And it's quite serious thing, but it's not like it can't be dealt with, which is really empowering just to have that, have that line of thinking, that perspective that you don't have to go to chemotherapy and destroy your body to treat this. You just change the way you're living a bit, perhaps. So I'm wondering, if the people that you treated, did they actually change anything in their lives after you did the treatment, or how did it go down?
Well, it's really interesting you say that, because when I mean, you'd have to have so much stress to develop, to develop cancer. There's a whole system of how we get to that point. The environment is definitely, a contribution. What we eat is a contribution. The way we think is a contribution. The way we think about ourselves is a contribution. The things that we read or the things that we watch on television is a contribution. to the point where now, in this day and age, everything, the moment we're born, we're stressed. We're completely stressed the moment we're born. And it's quite sad. A lot of uh, most of the clients that I've had, they don't even have a baseline for stress because they're so used to it. You know, it will take a lot for them to say, oh, that will make me stressed. But if they strip it back a bit, and they stripped it back, then actually the thought of getting out of bed stresses them out. And you start stripping things back a bit and back a bit, and it's like then there's trauma there, and there's ancestral trauma. So it's stuff that you know I'm curious about, because it's like, but ancestral trauma happened before they were even born. So how does that carry through? And it does. It carries through in our DNA. You know, we're born with several generations back of ancestral trauma, and unless we're able to work on ourselves to clear all of that, then it comes with us as our baggage. You know, we're born with baggage.
Love that, yeah, and it's just great to know that we can actually do something about it. And also, yeah, I think the idea of ancestral trauma actually kind of makes sense. And even when you're talking about it, like on a biological level, that like just what's transferred in like the DNA, and then obviously what actually just gets passed on in like the raising of the child, right, from the parent to the child. But just to know that we can actually do something about all of this is really amazing. And maybe somebody listening to this right now is like, oh my God, Zelaine, help me. I need
Yeah.
whatever it is. Whatever it is you're offering, it sounds amazing. So
Yeah.
do you have like a website or anything that people can find out more about all of this?
No, I don't have a website at the moment. But everything that I do, it's through word of mouth.
Okay.
So I practice privately, but I've not created a website, or else I'd be inundated. I'd be inundated. I work alongside a group of other practitioners, and we also discuss, you know, how to better help the people that we treat. So it's a nice community.
That sounds like an amazing community, yeah.
Mm.
And so, okay, let's just change the flow here a little bit, because we were in the wellness chat, we was talking about like meditation and stuff like that. So do you have your own meditation practice?
Um, do you know what? It changes all the time. There
Okay.
isn't one
Doesn't sound
particular
like
one that I
meditation very
use.
much.
No, no. I think the reason it changes all the time for me is because um, I'm at I I get to a point where I'm quite happy and content, and everything moves and flows easily. And then when something comes up, that meditation no longer works as it should, because I don't know, I'm still trying to understand it. And I think it's because there are certain meditations for certain issues, like there are certain um, practitioners for certain clients, or practices for certain ailments. And so I have a morning ritual, and then I have a midday ritual, and then I have an evening ritual. And at the moment, I'm keeping it like that. So I have a morning ritual, which I use Marma therapy on, which is just waking up my body and clearing my mind and energy and my senses, and opening myself up for the day, whatever may come. And then in the midday, I have a meditation where I focus on just strengthening my energy. And then in the evening, I have my thankfulness meditation, and I'm able to sleep. that's wonderful.
That sounds
But
awesome.
what do you
Yeah.
use the meditation? Which do you use a meditation? What are yours like?
Yeah, so over the years I've kind of developed my own intuitive technique that I do most mornings. But oh, hello,
Oh, sorry.
it's okay. Uh, yeah, so I do that sort of most mornings. It's kind of a combination of intention visualization and just sort of checking in with my body. But then just to give people something to actually work with that isn't so abstract, like I think Vipassana or body scanning is really, really good. I've done that like so much, and that was really, really useful for me to like up level my awareness, my focus, being able to just sit there and maintain, consistent focus on one thing is so valuable. And then second to that, qigong, actually, which is, it sounds very, very similar to what Marma Sūkṣhma is about, and I'd be curious like just to see what the differences would be. But yeah, I'm sure you probably know what it is, but if anybody doesn't, it's basically it is an energy healing arts, and you do all these exercises and practices, and you can do it on yourself or do it for other people. And generally people just sort of do it just to get a little bit more energy, just to get a bit more. I actually use it. It's kind of interesting, right? Because depending, I guess, on the time of day or what your intention is or how the practice goes, but you can do it to get more energy, or I do it to sleep. Like, it's incredible because as somebody who's had huge trouble with getting to sleep sometimes, um, if I just did sit there and I get my energy and get my visualization practice, and I'll do it to the point where I actually just start to feel tired, and I can just be out like a light, and it's incredible. It's just like, wow, just to have that. Don't need to take any melatonin or any kind of anything. It's just like, oh. So
I've
I think
enjoyed that. I've sat in that, and when you were doing the meditation that time in the group, and I absolutely love that.
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it's I guess they ever seen the group setting, it can be a little bit, it can be a bit more energy about the whole thing, even if we're not connected like in the same room. Like, I'm sure there's something about the whole group practice thing, and yeah, we did a body scan, and there was a great reception. Even somebody was like, "Yeah, it cured my headache." I'm like, "Wow,
Yeah,
wow, I
it,
didn't expect that. That's
it did.
amazing."
Mm.
So yeah, I just find all of this stuff incredibly fascinating, and alternative healing arts, I think, are the way forward for nearly everything. I don't know about if I broke my arm, unless you're like superhuman and trying to sit there and use energy to fix that. But outside of that, any sort of chronic, disease, or there's something that's been there for ages that's come from stress or trauma, I think this is how we go about treating it. So it sounds like absolutely amazing work that you are doing, Zelaine. So big ups to you. And I guess just
Oh,
to
and you.
thanks. And just to wrap up this show here, I'm curious though, how did you actually end up finding Empower the People?
I came across it through a gentleman called Gavin. I was watching his YouTube clip on what was going on with the council. And I've had issues with the council for years, since I've been, since forever. And I noticed it got worse and worse and worse. And I was watching this YouTube program that he did, and he said, if you ever feel like um, talking to someone, we're here, we can help and help you understand, and get you back to standing in your own power. And I really loved that, and so I scheduled I scheduled an appointment and had a chat with him, and he also mentioned empower the people as well in his YouTube, and I got the information from there. And I thought, oh, I'd really like to learn more and understand more, because there are loads of people out there who say, oh, just stop doing this and stop doing that, and and they were quite aggressive. They can be quite aggressive. Some people who are trying to make a difference and a change in the world. And for me, that's not the type of person I am. I'm very sort of like, I like to be calm, and I like to bring joy to the world and spread love. But the aggression and that side of things, it wasn't for me. And so when I spoke to Gavin and he explained everything, it's like, oh, okay, so it's it doesn't have to be completely brutal, and there are ways of going about standing in your own power. I also actually, funnily enough, had a client who I treated who knew about this well before I came across Empowered People. This is about a year ago, in the middle of COVID. It's a year and a half ago, but in the middle of COVID. And he kindly shared, his information with me about the strawman, and that we are our own beings in our own right, and that we can break away from the shackles of society and be in a position to be better and help each other, instead of grasping at every little crumb that we're made to believe, is for us. So I've been enjoying part of Empower the People, and finding a little family, of sentient beings, as it were, that share the same affection and passion for life and for people, and wanting to see the better in people.
That's such a beautiful description of Empower the People, and the membership is just a family of sentient beings. Now, isn't that something that's quite amazing? And if you're listening to this and you haven't joined this amazing family, come and join us, because we would love to have you. And we are all about the community, and that's also why we've actually started this show and reaching out to the members to get them on, just to hear more about all the awesome things they're doing. So I've really enjoyed listening to Sister Zelaine. I even think I've actually relaxed quite a bit myself, just listening to the stories and everything you're talking about. So
thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you for
coming
having
on.
me.
That's cool. And I'm sure I'll see you around at some other Wellness Wednesday somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Travis.
Cheers, mate. See you.
Thank you. Bye.